The Ancient Society of York Florists is the oldest horticultural show society in the world. As such, predates the RHS by some 30 years.
Basically what I'm doing is I'm putting in the dahlia cuttings which were taken in March. What you want to do is to make the hole so that when the plant goes in, there is a dip. So when you water, it's like a bowl and it holds the water there. So the water doesn't run across the ground, it stays around the plant. Growing dahlias is a full year job. By the end of August, September, when the main shows are on, we'll have all the plants in full flower, ready for the shows. And hopefully, we can take a few prizes.
I've got a collection of cactus and succulents, and I just enjoy the variety and the kind of flower. I mean, there is one there that's out. That's been flowering like that for about a week now. Now, if you can imagine flowers, not all like that, but a mass of flowers in here, it's quite a sight to behold. York has quite a history. Quite a horticultural history, and part of that history is the Ancient Society of York Florists. The pleasure of growing flowers, of course, started in the late 17th century and developed through the 18th century. It was usual to have a florist's feast whereby a lunch would be provided, or dinner, and the exhibitors, who would probably be wealthy merchants or landed gentry of the locality, would come and show their plants. There is quite a lot of archival material in the Borthwick Institute at York University. Happiness being the ultimate end proposed by, I assume, as the society should be on there. The evils to be avoided, I rather like that. In all companies that have been formed to encourage, doesn't quite say what the evils are. It is suggested that the reason why it was set up was because they got a little bit of corruption and favouritism in the Guild of York Florists before this was set up. So this is why we're avoiding the evils. Now this is 1768, June the 10th, and that is presumably the first show. And at this stage I'd like a pencil and paper. First show was the 20th of April, 1768, and then there was June the 10th and August the 10th. You have early show, midsummer show, and a sort of later show, and our shows have just adjusted, the timings of the shows have adjusted over the years to what is in season, as it were. For instance, we have a late chrysanthemum show. Well, that didn't come on until, I think, probably after or just before the First World War. That's fascinating. It is, really. This is the first list of members. These, as far as I am aware, were the original members of the society who set the society up. And of course some of the names are still here in York today. For instance, there's somebody called Joseph Buckle. Well, there are Buckles still in York. Whether they're of the same family or not, I don't know. There are Abels, they were also an old York family. Now that's interesting. We have a Mr. Oldfield as a steward. I can tell you that around about that time there was a gentleman called Oldfield, I guess it was the same one, who was a Lord Mayor of York, and he was a vintner. and his son actually was Lord Mayor in, I think, 1830, 1832. Most of these people that showed were people of some substance. Well, well.
For a lot of people, especially men, it's the bright colours and the formation of the flower heads. And also, unlike a lot of plants, you get more than one bloom on a plant. And the more you cut, the more they come. So it's, especially for a Yorkshireman, it's a good value for money. I took this allotment over about 8 or 9 years ago, and one day an old gentleman opposite was getting his flowers ready for a local flower show, and I saw them and liked them, and the following year he gave me some cuttings and said have a go. In my second dahlia show I went to see what I'd done, and there was a sign saying NAS on my dahlias, which means not as schedule. And I went to see the judge, and he said to me, they're the best dahlias I've seen this year. However, they were in the wrong class, which is why they were not a schedule. So he came down the following week and picked some out for me and said, come and join the ancient florists. And the flowers which he picked out won. Most people who are growing at home, given the chance and shown what to do, will be able to produce a decent bloom to go on a show bench.
Well, I've been exhibiting over 30 years. My father exhibited widely before that, and I learnt a lot from him. It's the tomato house, and if you have a look inside, you can see the exhibition tomatoes. We've got two sorts. These are Meccano, and the ones at the other side are the usual exhibition variety, which is Cederico. These ones are actually grafted, something my father started doing 25-30 years ago, and I've carried on doing it, and they do quite well when they're grafted. They tend to be a bit more resistant to root diseases.
It's part of, like the old saying, it's not the winning, it's the taking part. You've grown something and you think, well, yes, can I do better than that? And hopefully I do. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I fail miserably. When I retired in 2001, I thought, well, I'll have an allotment. The first thing I started really growing, other than the general basic plants, was chrysanthemums. A gentleman at work, he gave me my first cuttings, and that's how it started, really. I finish at round about 5 o'clock in the night, an evening, and that's my day. But I go to bed and I think, now what shall I do tomorrow? I like work, and that's what it's all about. And the achievement, of course, when I do succeed. But what I get out of it is I get pleasure out of working.
Here we've got the exhibition potatoes. They're all grown in bags, as most exhibitors do nowadays. There's about 70 bags all in all. And if I can get a dozen decent ones out of them, I'll be very happy.
I'm watering from below all the time, in these trays or in the saucers. That is to try and keep the bulb as dry as possible at the base, to stop a fungus growing at the base. These small onions, 250 grams, I will be looking at them and measuring them when they get a bit bigger. I have a pair of calipers, and I go around the bulb itself to check on its dimensions, and then when it's 2 or 3 days before, we tie the neck with raffia to present them, to tie them off and make them look tidy.
What's happened in the past doesn't really mean anything, because you've got to go over and do it all again from the start, and it's a new beginning each year.
A lot of people think, why go to all that bother? You must be mad. You must be mad. When I look at what I grow and how I grow and what some of the competitors I'm up against, no, I don't think really I'm mad, because a lot of people grow a lot more vegetables than I do. It's got to be a pleasure for me rather than being a task.
You've only got really one chance. If a sowing fails, that's often it for this year. For example, this year I sowed some table dainty marrows, and I don't know what happened to them. Either the slugs got them, or I got the seed mixed up with some courgette seed, because there's just no table dainty marrows coming up, so I'm not going to have any of those to exhibit this year, which has been one of my bankers. Celery is down here. We're all competitive people. People compete in different ways. At sport, cards, we compete by growing vegetables. Oh, if you can beat a top grower, that's the best feeling. For example, when we went to Harrogate 3 years ago, we entered the fruit classes, both apple classes, the dessert apple and the cooking apples, and there was 25 entries in one and something like 17 in another, and we won them both. We couldn't believe it, and that was a tremendous feeling.
Right, now then. You've got the Gardener's Guild arms. I think it's Queen Anne, is that's her coat of arms, and that is the York coat of arms. This predates, actually, yes, it's your desire to meet the fraternity of the most ancient art of gardening, the annual feast of the Royal Society of Gardeners and Lovers of a Garden within the city and county of York. So this is pre-1768. They used to have their shows along Coney Street, and they used to offer a silver guinea, I think, as first prize. It wasn't until 1804 that the word ancient was introduced into the title, and we are led to believe it was really to set down a marker, because by that time, of course, there were other horticultural show societies being set up and down the country, and specifically in the north of England. In 1869, a class was introduced titled A Class for the Working Classes, and I think it was a window garden. And to exhibit in this class, you had to prove that you were a member of the working classes. Not quite sure how you prove that, but you had to prove it.
These are my seed leeks. These are from leeks which were exhibited last August and September. And you plant them up after you show in these pots. The following summer they produce seed heads. These will burst open in a month or two, and they'll have white flowers for seed, and they'll also have bulbils. Wensleydale, you've got to exhibit them in pairs, so they're probably the winning pair from Wensleydale show. That's a Pendle leek. I've just written good on it. So that must have been a particularly good one. I don't know what that one is. Well, the bug's got to get you. You've got to be interested in it, and you've got to keep the interest, and you've got to have staying power as well, because it's an all year round exercise. I use my diary a lot, and I usually work out when Harrogate show is, and each few weeks working back to the present day, I write in 6 weeks to Harrogate, 7 weeks to Harrogate, 8 weeks to Harrogate, and then I know what I should be doing. You can take a holiday, perhaps October, November is perhaps the best time. But no, it doesn't affect our lives at all. Keeps them white and hopefully keeps them straight.
So you've got to know the little things that you have to do. Like the potatoes, they have to be of a certain size, generally speaking. I look for one that just nicely covers the palm of my hand. You've got to try and make them as identical as possible, which, with growing 9 bags of potatoes of each variety, of 4 different varieties, it takes some doing. As I say, the carrots last year were, shall we say, the pinnacle of my gardening, if I may say that. I do. I like to boast about it occasionally. I won I went to Harrogate with 5 carrots, which we selected out of this coal frame. The coal frame holds 38 carrots, and out of the first row of 8, we got 5 carrots identical. We looked at the table and saw how many entries there were. Ooh, no way. And my son was ahead of me, and he just looked, and he then stepped back, and then I knew something was up. And I looked, and there was the red card, and I was immensely proud. And this was the NVS National Championship for short carrots. So I was immensely proud.
The Ancient Society, I mean, it's a really good sort of group to be in. You know, people that are passionate about growing things and showing things. It really likes the growing the things better than the showing. It is a family thing. It keeps you all together and gives you an interest. I do flower arranging myself, and I love the flowers.
My wife does the baking entries, but she also provides the catering for the Ancient Florists. My daughter's 14 and she grows a bit of everything and takes prizes all over the place against adults. And she actually did better than me last year at Harrogate with the gladioli.
That's what you're hoping for, someone new to come in and keep the society and the rivalry going.
For the September show last year, we had one of the top growers in the country turn up who won the silver medal, and his stuff was marvellous. I would like to get the silver medal if I can. However, it's not easy to get for being best in show. Bronze medal would be very nice, but overall, if I can get cards in most entries that I put in, and I'd be more than happy. You can't beat coming out into the peace and quiet of the allotment and enjoying the countryside and listening to the bird song and the odd train going by. But it's just a lot better than just being sat in front of a TV.
Under the plank here, we often have a toad in residence who helps with controlling the slugs. Just see if he's here. Ah yes, he's at home.
A show or shows have been held every year since 1768. The heyday, I suspect, of the Ancient Society was probably in the late 1800s. It was a premier show in the country at that time. Through the 19th century, the show did develop, and as new flowers were brought into cultivation, classes were put into the show schedule to take account of that. And as we went into the 20th century, 1900s onwards, it became more and more, much more open society, and more people became involved. And I suppose it was the First World War which led to a certain extent to the reduction in private gardens and private gardeners for the landed gentry started to go by the wayside, and the allotments came on the scene, and that's when the vegetable section started to be introduced. The fact that it's an unbroken record is notwithstanding the First World War, the Second World War, even the Boer War for that matter. There hasn't been a year when they haven't had at least one show. And it prospered probably up towards the 70s, and that's when it started to go downhill a little bit. And my predecessor, Arthur Robinson, who picked it up, and he built it up and brought it up to quite a high standard. Arthur retired at 92 in 2010, and that's when I took over. Certainly this year we've increased the number of exhibitors, because of course exhibitors do tend to die off or get too old to exhibit. But we have got one or two new exhibitors coming along. Our biggest problem is getting the public to come along and pay the quid to have a look at what is usually an excellent show.
Well, we're Thursday today. Florists show is on Sunday, so we've got a few days. It's time we were getting the sets of onions sorted. I've got quite a big entry of onions. They need to be a nice finish, nice smooth, no lumps anywhere, there's no holes in them, they're not being eaten at all, no signs of disease. If you dropped it and it's bruised, that ruins it. They need to be in good condition, and they need to be the right sort of shape, so a nice onion shape with a high shoulder, rather than something which is too flat or too blocky. These need a final brush down and perhaps a wash off underneath. I just wet the neck slightly. Near the end I put a clove hitch, a piece of raffia, slip it over. Try and get them about the same height. They usually go naturally to about the same height. Don't over tighten it. 3 or 4 turns. It makes a nice neat finish. I'll just trim off the bits. Sit down, get it next to the others. Cut it off. Same height. Now we've got 3. Yeah, these are the runner veins. I usually have masses like this sort of size and straight, but they've done poorly. They're short and curly. I don't know why. The shade might have something to do with it from the trees at the side of the garden, the neighbouring garden, and a lot of them were eaten off by slugs and didn't recover, so there's gaps in the row as well. But I don't really know why. I'll just have to try again next year. Mind you, I'll do my best to find a decent 6 out of these for Sunday.
We have a good collection of vegetables. We have flowers, dahlias, a few chrysanthemums, and of course gladioli, pot plants, and then of course we have baking and photography, which has grown over the last few years.
It's been a strange year because it's been very dry, and a lot of shows, including Harrogate Flower Show last week, have struggled in a lot of categories, especially in the dahlias and the gladioli. Considering that it's at the end of the season, we've got some very good entries and numbers are up for us. We've got a very good show today.
I've noticed there's people got bigger tomatoes, but they're nice and hard, which is a plus for them. They may not get anything, because looking around I noticed there's some really good tomatoes, as there is with everything else. It's a really good class of show today.
I'm only 6 weeks from a full knee operation, so I've been incapacitated a little bit through the season, so things haven't been attended to as they should have been. My son has helped me this year a little bit. We've been at the Poppleton Village Show, we've been at the Poppleton Allotment Show, been at the Harrogate Show, and this is our 4th show. We have 2 exhibits, 1 and 2. This gentleman here is a newcomer to the show, but and he's got some lovely parsnips there. The bloom's gone off them because they've been up a couple of days, I think, those at least, where ours are taken up yesterday. We've had better, a lot better. But everybody says that as well, don't they? Everybody says that. As long as I'm not ashamed of what I put out, I'm a winner. That's how I feel.
These cactus dahlias here belong to Duncan and Richard Bull, and they're a very nice set of 3 vases of cactus. They're very clean, they're all uniform. That's a very good staging of cactus dahlias there.
Right.
Yeah, he's put some nice dahlias in today. He'll give me a run for my money.
Well, we'll see how the judges it. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
It is, yeah. But we all know when we've got a fairly decent vase, and you can respect another grower who's grown a nice vase like that. So you have a rough idea where the ones which will be picked out for best in show will be. But like Duncan says, it's then down to what the judge likes.
And there's a little bit of what's in vogue as well.
Yes,
isn't there?
yeah.
A little bit what's in vogue.
Yeah, you do find that a new type of dahlia will come out, and it'll be all over the show benches, and the judges will be raving over that one. And then when it's all settled down, and it pans out, and then the old favourites start coming back.
Yeah, they do.
What they're looking for is near perfection in that particular class. And the level, the standard of exhibits that we have here actually is very good and very high.
Them sounding up on top, wouldn't it? Just a dimpsy bottom of it. Yeah.
Yeah, to lift it out, as long as you grab hold of them 2 like that, and you look at green.
Earlier in the season, when you came and visited my allotment, you saw some dahlias being planted out. Those dahlias, again, have taken first prize in the show. The ones just over here, and you can see what a nice vase of dahlias they are. These ones here, they're the ones which we saw being planted as small little plants this size. They've grown now and they're 4.5 foot high, and this is the result. Duncan got the bronze medal for the second best dahlia exhibiting show with his 3 vases of 5. They're a nice exhibit, and very clean for the time of year, especially with the mist that we've had over the past week, which, especially on the cactus dahlias, tends to damp off the back and they go brown. But you can actually see on these that they are all still clean. They're a very nice vase. I haven't looked at what I've done with the glads. I don't know if they've been judged yet. I'll go and have a look. There is one glad which is very nice and it isn't mine, so. On the gladioli, I've won all the classes bar one. And this, I believe, is a new exhibitor. I think this is his first year showing gladioli, a Mr. Reed. And he's got some nice gladioli. He's had a really good go. Let's see who these ones belong to. Oh, my daughter got third. In the cakes, let's see. My wife got first. Miss Beth Chandley, who also works in the doing the refreshments. So the two ladies in refreshments got the first and second in the cakes. So it's been a good show for the family by the looks of things.
It takes a lot of work. We start planning, as I say, now, and then come January we'll be sowing seeds, and it is a lot of hard work. And I ain't getting any younger. I'm doing it as a pastime. I'm growing just for the fun of it. If I put something on the bench and I'm not disgraced, I'm ashamed of it, I'm a winner. That's it. That's how I look at things.
As an exhibitor, you're pleased when you win, and when you're beaten by a better vase, like I was in the other class there with Duncan. He put some cracking vases in today, and they've made a really good show for the public. So I'm very pleased for myself for what I've won, but also as chairman of the society for the display that we've put on for the public.
I only wish sometimes the audience was rather a bit bigger.
I think it's the best show we've had for a few years, actually. There was a lot of exhibitors there, there was a lot of exhibits, and there was one or two new exhibitors, and it was very, very pleasing. It shows the Florist show is going the right way. But it's not only the exhibitors, of course, who make the show. It's the people behind the scenes. Those are the people who really deserve congratulations.
The trouble with shows today is you've got, in essence, I suppose, three problems, but the biggest is getting people to the door. And we only charge £1 a head. That's number two is helpers. The helpers are not getting any younger, and the exhibitors are not getting any younger. And I'm afraid this is a problem with horticultural shows right across the country.
We need to get young blood into the societies. It's the passing on of the knowledge. There's hundreds of years of gardening knowledge in these old growers, and they need to pass that on so that those skills aren't lost.
It's the oldest society in the world, and it's up to us, our generation of people who are supporting it now, to keep it going and make sure it doesn't die on our watch, so to speak.